Good evening, Derek. How's it going?
It's going great.
Welcome to episode 2 of Beyond the Curve. We're sitting in the Toy Hauler studio tonight, but look at what Derek has done. Derek has decorated the studio. We have signage from Jeremy Martin, Cole Seeley, James Stewart, Martine Davalos, Blake Baggett, Adam Cianciarulo, a name from the past, Matt Bisceglia, Kevin Wyndham, and Justin Brayton. And we've got Derek is a motocross guy, so Derek's got jerseys with his name and number on the back. I'm an off-road guy. We don't have that, but I did bring something to the party. I do have a Josh Grant signed jersey, and I'm an old man, so I have a factory Phil Lawrence jersey. That's from Orlando back in the 90s.
It's all cool stuff. Everything here you see is signed. Every single piece is autographed. There's many, many more along the way, but I figure we better give ourselves a show tonight.
Well, I want to officially welcome everybody to Beyond the Curve, episode 2. This episode is probably going to be a little bit shorter because there wasn't as much racing. We got Detroit, we have an FTR hair scramble, and I did a little something different. Well, for me, as you'll find out later on as we go through the podcast, I went to Sebring 12 hours this weekend. So, let's jump right in, man. Let's jump right into... Oh, and also, we have Dade City.
We got the amateur
Peewee.
Dade City.
Yeah, amateur Dade City. So, let's jump in. Where you want to start tonight?
Let's hit Detroit. That's still fresh in my mind because that was quite a race.
Yeah. So this series is nuts.
Yeah, it sure is. And, we got how many winners now?
I think we're up to 4, right?
Well, we got Webb, Sexton, almost AP.
Oh,
we
man.
definitely got a conversation going on about that.
I feel like I might cry on that one.
We got old Tomac.
And Roxon.
Yes,
that's 4. Just 4. Are we going to get 5?
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
I'm hoping so. But that track was gnarly. It looked slippy, hard packed. It's really technical. And them guys are dealing with that cold. I mean,
yeah.
I felt bad for the mechanics in that race where they're swapping out parts inside the trucks in them tight quarters. I couldn't imagine it. I mean, I need room to work, and those poor boys. That
was one of the things I wanted to touch on was, man, I've been to cold races as a participant, which I'm sure being from the north, you have as well. But to be at that level, and then all of a sudden you're confined to your hauler because it's so cold you can't even work outside. Yeah. And, I mean, I think of like Star Yamaha, Phoenix Racing. They're not a big team. And they had 2 guys in the main, so it's like that's tough confines.
And they're working like a foot and a half in between them toolboxes. Yeah. I mean, there's not much room to work, especially if they got to pull motors. They got to. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but getting into that Hayden Deegan, Jordan Smith.
What do you think? Let's go here.
If we're going to talk about the teams,
let's go here.
Obviously, I'm not a professional team manager by any means. If I was though, them boys would be sitting down getting an ass chewing because there would be none of that. That was in my mind, that was absolutely ridiculous. Hayden in his interview said, Rubbin's racing, baby, and that was a racing incident. That was not a racing incident. That was 100% preventable. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors in that team.
Yeah.
But for Hayden to stop when he did on the third altercation, and to literally stop and try to plow into Jordan Smith, and then Jordan Smith just hitting that kid. I mean, absolutely out of control. That was way over the line. I mean, and Ricky Carmichael, who is a team manager, was a professional racer, and that guy said he's way over the line, and I 100% agree. I mean, there was no call for anything that happened in that race. Those boys would have been sidelined.
So is it 3 wrongs don't make a right? Because I'm of the opinion, I don't think Jordan did anything wrong until the last
hit,
one.
The hit that put him down.
Yeah, the hit that put him down.
And what that did was screwed him up all night because at that point he's pissed off. His whole night's pissed off. He went down 3 more times in that heat. It's a heat race for one. I mean, let's add that in that it's just a heat race.
Yeah.
So now he's into an LCQ, which he shouldn't be, and then his mind isn't even, like we said, this is not 100%, but pretty close to 100% mind game.
Yeah.
And when you're that pissed off, I mean, look at his performance in the LCQ. It was terrible.
It was pressured, more pressure.
He's just angry.
Yeah.
And I guarantee there was some chatting in that Star Yamaha truck because you could tell he was more angry
Yeah.
when he went out to that LCQ, and then his performance showed he was terrible.
In the road racing world, they call that seeing red mist.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing red. And
Battle rage.
I guess my problem I have, yes, those incidents are going to happen. There's probably some bad blood during the week. They're trained together. I guess I'm curious how much of a pull Bobby Reagan runs that team. And they have managers and so on and so forth. But how much pull does Brian have over the operation of, hey, you got my boy, and I'm bringing a lot of publicity to that team. I mean, they were saying it's a 3 to 4 hour wait for autographs for Hayden.
Yeah, and to me, if I was the team manager, I mean, if I owned that team, that would have nothing to do with it. I got Eli Tomac. I mean, yeah, Deegan's a big hype, but there's a lot of good racers on that team. Yeah. I mean, they got a stacked team. I mean, look at Nate Thrasher, Jordan Smith, they're all up there, so...
Yeah, for a rebuilding year, it doesn't look too bad.
And for a kid that I gave a chance to, who wasn't even supposed to race this year, yet, I mean, they let him through to that debut. I mean, I still give Storiama a lot of credit for his credibility. I mean, he's still a young kid, though. I mean, nothing against him. I'm not a huge fan of him, just to being a kid, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, he is 17 years old.
Yeah, but you get a lot of these other riders that are the same age.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the maturity of Jet Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's 19, but just you can see the difference in the kid. Now he's got 4 years race experience already, pro experience, so there's a lot of factors that play into it, but yeah, what happened there, I wouldn't have had any part of that.
Now, we go hard on him, but I'm going to say this as a former coach. I may not like what I saw, but then you take it to the main, and he rides to get third.
Yeah.
And he made a very mature pass on Jeremy Martin. He stood him up. He didn't. That's a Supercross pass. What he did to Jeremy Martin was a Supercross pass. The block moves, the checking, all that was actually Supercross moves. But you did it once. It's like you said. It's the heat race. Move on. But he came back from that because I'm guessing that truck was not a fun place to be.
No.
And to come out and finish third, that's pretty good. It's pretty solid.
When you could see on the camera when Hayden was riding his bike back to the truck, you could see how white his face was.
Yeah.
He knew it was coming, and you see that they just let him into the truck.
Yeah.
I mean, those boys both got sat down on that couch, and it didn't happen again.
And there's not much to say because Hunter's he's on a different level. Like he just managed that. He managed that. He managed that race. He led it pretty much from start to finish. And the 250 East Side, I feel so badly for Hunter because, like most of us, we're watching the broadcast. Mm-hmm. And what do? It's Hunter. We're racing the East. And guess what they pull up? Let's see how they compare to one another. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus, man, let this guy be his own person.
No, it's nothing but a competition between them two. But between them two, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, they're out there having fun. And Jet will tell you over and over again, and we said this last week, that I'm getting too much media.
Yeah.
I don't want it. It should be about Hunter right now. And here next week, it'll be about Jet. I mean, let the coasts have their coasts. And then when they come together here in the East-West at East Rutherford, let them duke it out there. And Jet even said, like, I think Hunter's going to beat me. If you listen to the Future MX podcast, he said, I think Hunter's got me because he's just riding that well.
I'd like to also point out, I haven't listened to the post-race interviews yet, but from what I gathered, Hunter kind of, Dave Iser, who's a legend in the sport and the media side, kind of went after Hayden a little bit on because Jordan Smith's a local guy for them. They're from Georgia. Jordan Smith's Georgia. It's they're a southern guy. They kind of Dave Iser went after Deegan a little bit, and Hunter defended him. And I hate to give them more positive press, but the Lawrence family, the way that operation runs, they're racers. They're in the business of racing, and they didn't come from, and nothing against Deegan. Deegan came from a family, his dad created this for him.
Yeah.
The Dazzy, as everybody calls the Lawrence dad, he created this for them, but not in the same level.
They gave up everything.
Yeah, they were living on a pool table.
Brian Deegan built his way up to what he was.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's a legend. He's always going to be. But they didn't have it they don't have it like the Lawrence
No,
did.
they do now. They do now.
No,
But it's because of the kids, not because of the.
Yeah.
That said that wrong because I don't care how much they gave Hayden. If he didn't have the skills, he wouldn't be here.
Correct. But the money sure helps.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the money gets you a long ways. Where the Lawrence, Dazzy, they gave up everything. They sold their house. And it was the either you win or we don't eat type of mentality. I mean, it paid off, but
they don't have that. Well, I guess they have the chip on their shoulder, but they don't come across to society that they have a chip on their shoulder.
No, they're really good kids. I mean, they're awesome racers.
Yeah.
What they're doing is fantastic, and I wish them the best. I mean, I'm an avid Jet Lawrence fan. I love the kid. I love how he races. Like I said last week, the kid can ride a bike. So,
and I know we talk about the top a lot. I'm gonna jump down a little bit. What a ride from Chris Blows.
Yeah.
PC finally has something to cheer about. Both Phoenix Honda guys rode well. There were Jack Chambers, our local guy.
You took the words out of my mouth because that's where I was going. Jordan Smith might have had this little chip on his shoulder, throwing a whole fit all night. But look what it did for old Auburndale Jack Chambers, and it was an awesome ride by him. I mean, for him going down in it was the heat. But I
want to talk about that though because I know I suck. I am a low B, high C level off-road racer. I've never raced Supercross in my life. I've never raced at the level of a Jack Chambers, Jesse Ansley, these guys from our area that are pursuing it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like sometimes I want Jack. I want so badly for not a James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael. I want a kind of one of the home guys to grind it out and make it. Whether that's just become a solid top 10 guy.
Yeah.
What the hell was he thinking when everybody goes to the inside, Jordan Smith's crashing, and Jack all of a sudden I'll go to the outside and crash on top of him. Like, I feel like and that's where I have to be careful because I'm just being a fan.
It happens quick. I mean, you have split second to make a decision. So, in the off-road racing, it's a lot slower paced. I mean, it can be fast, but there's only a few lines you can take off-road. Coming from my perspective and riding this kind of stuff, you literally have a split second to make any decision in that race. So everything is made on split second decisions. There was a lot of bikes going around that turn.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that track, but had I been, I mean, from that perspective on the TV, I think, from what I've seen, I thought he could have made it too. But he washed his back tire out, and the bike goes over at that point. I mean, those berms are loose on the top. I mean, there's no grip, there's no nothing.
It looked very pebbly.
Yeah, you're not getting traction on top. So, had he went inside, I mean, everything would have been fine.
Now I dug on him. But what a heck of a move to stop Jordan.
And that was smart racing.
That was big boy. No, you're not taking my line. That I was like, Michelle and I both were sitting on the couch and it was like, now I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna lie. I did not pick him in fantasy this week because I was like, dude, he got me in Daytona. I feel good, but I just didn't feel. But man, that was a big boy. I'm proud of you, Jack Chambers, for that move in the LCQ. Good job. That was awesome. And we got another 17th. And what's it gonna take for him to get into that 15th through 10th? Because he's got speed. He does have the speed.
His nerves. I think his nerves.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch the kid ride. He's good. He makes smart decisions. That was an awesome fake. I mean, going to the inside and pulling outside hard. I mean, he knocked Jordan Smith on his ass.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fantastic. For one, to see him to go through.
Yeah.
For one, but to see Jordan go down because I had there's nothing about me that wanted Jordan to get into that. Into that main because the way he acted all night, like that all could have been prevented.
Oh yeah. He lost his brain. I don't fault him for losing his brain, but he's mature enough. He's a veteran enough to not make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And I will say on a fashion side, hey Jack, the 7 gear was looking good. I would look more like the Michelin Tire Man wearing that gear, but I like that gear. That gear looked good.
Yeah.
So on the 250 side, that's really all I had. I was really happy to see some of the guys that we haven't really seen making mains or diving deep into the main. There were some great names up in the front, in the top this weekend at the main. Anything else for you on the 250 side?
Honestly, the Max Dancy was a big one for me. And his story about moving from Belgium just to make a go out of here. They were literally on their honeymoon. And we can either go back to London or we can go to California. And instead of flying back home to London, they flew to California. And he's been here ever since. I mean, look at him. He's making moves. He really is. He's a really respectable kid.
He seems like a happy guy.
Yeah, there's nothing... See, he can get angry. I mean, there was last weekend, I think he got a little mad. But he's not like... He's happy to be here. I don't know. I really enjoy the guy.
Michelle was a little frustrated because that was her all-star pick and 4 points, and but yeah, I felt bad for him because can you imagine just like rolling around? I never actually heard what the problem was. They were speculating. At one point, I thought maybe he had a flat tire, shifter, brake, something.
It looked like the bike wouldn't shift.
Yeah.
And the way he kept looking down, I don't know if it was bent and stuck under the case or what, but yeah, I mean, that caused him to bail out of that. But yeah, it was a sucky ride. I mean, he was doing great until that incident. But yeah, the only other thing that I had on the LCQs was that gate drop.
Yes,
was wicked.
How did they all make it through? Not one person got hung up.
They hit it, but it went back down because it only came halfway back up. I've never seen anything like that in my life. That was wicked because there's a compressor that runs on gates. And I don't know because it was simultaneously. It wasn't just one side. Both of them worked perfect, and it bounced right back up. I was impressed they all got over it. I mean, I can't believe that nobody out over the bars.
So is that, and actually, okay, on top of that, thought it was super impressive because you get this in other sports now where you'll have in the NFL, you'll have like the rules guy come on, and NASCAR they'll have, in golf they have the rules guy come on. I thought it was amazing. That's the first time, as far as I ever remember seeing, they had an AMA official come on and discuss that. I thought that was on top of it, and
it was quick. I've seen it in a couple other races with the staggered starts.
Okay.
But to explain that full restart, any kind of gate malfunction, it's not a fair race. So I mean, it screwed a lot of those guys up because of it. But for him to get on there and explain what was happening,
and I think that's great. It's great for the sport. I know that we talk about the sport, and we are a niche sport. I mean, for God's sakes, we're doing a podcast in a toy hauler. We are a niche sport. But the fact that they're throwing these, there's now the logos on the starting line, and they're working on there's different stories. There's more media than ever. But the fact that the AMA rules official, and what's really cool is they were talking about Jeremy Martin last night, and they actually said he's a 2-time national outdoor champion. Mm-hmm. They never, until this meeting, they never would have said that before. And I thought you had something about Jeremy you wanted to talk about.
Well, Jay March just said that was an awesome ride. I mean, we got him up there, autograph. That boy used to. I mean, I thought his days were coming to an end. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a smart rider. He's a vet. I mean, the guy knows racing, but he's been mid-pack this whole season, and to pull that out was awesome. I mean, he capitalized on the Deegan Jordan Smith thing, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he played it smart, and like he said in his interview, like, boys, it's just a heat race, but he's like, you know what, I'm going to capitalize on it, and he did, and that was a great ride. And same in the main. I mean, he did awesome.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like for him. I mean, he's approaching his 30s, I think, and he's getting up there, and to be battling a 17-year-old kind of phenom, and like 2 weeks in a row, basically, or 2 out of the last 3 weeks. That's been the reason you're not on the podium, is because of this 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, the one in Daytona, I was actually surprised because he knows better than what he did in Daytona. Yeah. This weekend, Deegan did a great Supercross move on him. But, like you said, Jeremy's, what, 4th in points, 5th in points? I mean, he hasn't finished a season in years. So the fact that he's just kind of plodding along, he's got a heat race win, he's got a one of the Triple Crown wins. I mean, he's stacking up a good season. I don't know what that means for him going outdoors, because I really feel like outdoors in the 250 class may be one of the best series we've ever had, bar none. Like, I don't care. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
We're not going to have Jet Lawrence in there, but
you're going to have Shimoda back.
Yep, and Jet's moving to the 450, which the 450 is going to be fun too.
Yeah.
that kid can ride a 450 just like a 250.
Yeah.
So, but moving on to the 450s, that's where most of our talks are going to be, because we got the way Barcia was riding was awesome again.
Has he cleaned it up?
I think he's trying to change himself. I do. I know everybody gives him shit.
Did he find Jesus in a week and a half?
I don't
because
know, maybe.
literally he's.
But the kid's riding.
Yeah.
He's not even kidding. We're the same age, but he's riding a lot more consistent. He's always consistent, but just clean passes. And he had his line that he had going to the outside of that Dragon's back was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing that except for him, and his speed through that thing was just out of this world. He was lagging in the whoops a little bit. I mean, he'd get on top of them, and then the last few he'd start huckabucking a little bit. And
look like a lot of guys started losing some speed if you watch, because sometimes, well, minus Jordan Smith that one time through the run, but a lot of guys were they started strong and it they lost a little bit at the end there.
It looked like the end of it was real hard packed and just gnarly, like always. These whoops this year are just out of control. And I mean, there's got to be a point in time where these guys talk to this dirt work crew and be like, listen, we're an entertainment sport, but I think we can calm it down a little bit. Like, these guys are getting hurt. I mean, when you got the top guys in the world that are struggling, something isn't right. They're building amazing tracks, but I think they are. Like last year, it was Atlanta when Hunter was that triple. There was a big triple in Atlanta, and he cased it real hard, and everybody was struggling to hit that thing. And I know for a fact in that race that they had to talk with the Dartworks crew, because Jet Lawrence threw a living fit when Hunter wrecked, and then they tamed the track down. And I think unfortunately for one of these riders, they're going to end up getting a reality check again. Yeah. Somebody's going to go down hard, and then. I mean, they're building amazing tracks, but I do think they need to at least take a couple whoops out or something, because these tracks need to be rideable for all levels of racing, because we don't just have the top guys out there.
Yeah.
So I don't think every week that the lower level pros should be jumping the whoops. I think they should all be able to hit them. So I think they need to tame these tracks down just a hair.
Well, there's a couple thoughts there that sometimes the simpler tracks make for better racing. Now I'm gonna throw this to you, because the PGA and I think the RNA2, the two rules committees of professional golf and amateur golf, they are doing they're rolling back the ball. Like the PGA, that like these pros, we all play the same equipment, but we don't play the same game.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with, hey, you're a pro, we know the level, we're gonna roll back the bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that's what these manufacturers want to sell and everything. IndyCar only has they run a spec chassis. There's one manufacturer of a chassis.
Yeah.
So is there anything wrong with, and it won't happen soon, but is there anything wrong with saying, like, hey, they've talked about spec tires and all that kind of stuff and shorten the knobbies? That's not for general public. I don't need to know that. I actually don't need to know that. I don't care. I don't care if you say we're all running 400s, but just based on the 450. I don't think the general public's going to care, because now, if you noticed in the main, the 250 started doing that single over double in the rhythm lane. Mm-hmm. That the 450, there was nothing on that track that the 250s weren't doing that the 450s were doing.
Yeah.
So why do we have to have these 450s? They can't. If you actually listen, if you go quietly listen, they're never on the throttle.
No, it's just,
yeah.
And that's how it is with everything when it comes to 450s. 450s are just too much power.
Yeah.
They make them just for this, really.
And I don't say we need to go two strokes. I'm not all about that either. But maybe there is something like, hey, we're gonna dumb these bikes down.
Yeah, but these bikes are also so built.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got a $50,000-$60,000 bike rolling around,
yeah,
we don't need that either. I mean, put these guys on stock bikes, and we'll see who ride.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they have to run. They can't run stock suspension on.
No, but they're all talented. I mean, I don't know. It's just like look at the amateur level. At our level, with my kids, you got these kids with the PW50s that are just built to the nuts. And why do we need that? Or these Stasic bikes? You know, we run the CGM series on these new Stasics. We got a Stasic 12-inch. We got a 16-inch. And all over Facebook, all these Stasic sites and all the races, they all got race tuners in them. And why can't these kids just be kids?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why do we have to build everything like that? Like,
there's something about learning how to ride to the point that the machine actually is affecting you versus you can't ride to the level of that machine.
Yeah, and I've been at that point in life where years ago I was racing an 06 CRF 250, and I would run that thing till there was nothing left.
Yeah.
And that's when you know that you've got to do something because it's slowing you down. And though I was still winning races on it, I could have been dominating races on it. I've always been that kind of, I don't need, as long as I got suspension and my bike's taken care of, you know, I'll put an exhaust on it, but I don't need everything, you know. I don't need big cams. I don't need to mill my head and, you know, run race fuel in them. Why waste all that money? Waste that money on going to other tracks and waste your money on experience, you know, training.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, I'm not good, but my uncle, my cousin used to race amateur, did Suzuki, like amateur stuff. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he's like, hey, if you ever get into racing, there's a lot of stuff you can waste money on. Get your suspension done right for you, and then you'll know when you need to do engine work to your bike. Yeah. But otherwise, just get your suspension done. You're never going to be able to touch the power of these bikes. And I mean, I look at, like, we listen to Barsha. We'll go back to this direction. We listen to Barsha, and, like, he's on a 450 and he's
that's just a Barsha ride.
And then you have a guy like Tomac or Sexton who you barely hear them.
Yeah.
And so these guys have adjusted their riding. But we'll touch on that more, and that could be a podcast in itself. Barsha rode great. It was nice of us to finally learn that Tomac had been having some neck issues, and I don't think he was 100%. I also think that 2 years ago, Tomac would have these rides where he'd finish 12th. And I think now he finishes 5th or 4th, or by God, he got on the podium this weekend, but he's not riding. He's like, I'm at this level. I'm going to ride here. If you pass me, cool.
I mean, the guy thinks big picture. We're getting back into that experience.
Yeah.
He's mature. He's one of the most experienced rider out there. He's smart. Yeah. I mean, why push your limits and end up ruining your whole season? Where a lot of these young guys, they'll wreck out mid-season because they're pushing their limits. And Tomac is smart enough to not do that. And like you said, he'd get the 12th places, you know, just a few years ago, and now he's so hyped up that, well, he got a 4th. What's wrong with him?
Yeah.
He just had a bad day.
Or he just didn't feel comfortable, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. He's not going to push the limits.
But you have Sexton, who still does push the limit. He rode beautifully. Is that penalty going to hold up? Because I'm reading both sides. Have you heard anything if that is the penalty? Because Webb even brought it up on the podium. But Webb's like, I was waiting for the penalty.
Yeah. I think it's going to stick. I mean, clearly the red lights were up. Yeah. Red lights are up, you don't jump that jump. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of you guys don't race Supercross, never raced anything of that nature, but you get medical cross flags, you're rolling. You jump, it's penalty. I mean, clearly you could see the red lights were on that double, and that's a big double. Yeah. And everybody else was rolling in front of him. I don't know what he was thinking to do that, but I don't see why it wouldn't stick, because it should. And I mean, I'm impressed that the kid rode an entire race without going down. Yeah. He rode a good, just consistent race, and I mean it put him on top. I still wish AP would have won it. I mean, I got a big story about AP. We'll get in on that.
We're gonna touch on him, but I want to get through like some of the more of the Cooper Webb. For those of you who don't know, I came from the tennis world. I am not a Rafael Nadal fan. Never really liked the guy, but we cannot argue with the tenacity and what success he has. Cooper Webb is the Rafael Nadal of Supercross. The guy is just... He didn't qualify good. He didn't have a great heat race. And all of a sudden, he's in second place. And you're like, where does this come from?
He brings it when he needs to bring it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always known for that. The kid rides when he needs to ride.
Yeah.
And it shows every week. Obviously last year, fighting with the bike, and I think we touched base on this last week too. I think Cooper Webb, if he's got the bike right, he's there, and he brings it when he needs to bring it. And with his last championship, he hardly won, but he was so consistent that's where it puts him. And look where he's at. He's got the red plate now, so. I think he's going to be. This championship race ain't over by any means. Chase losing 7 points obviously is going to be a big hit.
But puts him down. I think it'll put him down 17 because I think it was down 10.
He's still in third because the fourth place is
over a race behind
37 or something like that.
But it's just that tenacity of. And then you have Tomac. Tomac did Tomac things. He finished third. I think Barsha, Roxon, they put on good races. Like they did well. And it was actually, if you really look, they weren't that far off of Tomac. So there was some good racing going on. At one point, when Plessinger had that massive lead, that second through fifth
was awesome.
Oh my god, they're going through traffic. I was like, this is fun. Like if you're watching this as a first time, you're like, this is what this is like.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is amazing. But
and the top 5 guys in that class are just stacked.
Yeah.
The whole class is stacked to begin with, but the top 5, top 6 right now are they're all competitors. They're all there and ready. It's good. The rest of the season is going to be awesome because it's so close. It is right now, in my opinion, it is a 3-way championship battle, and I don't know who's going to win. I would put money on Cooper, but Tomac ain't done.
And Tomac is my favorite for just no other reason than I just like his grind. I just like his grind. You never hear from him. He's a quiet guy. I know you see me on this, but I'm really just a quiet, reserved guy, and I just kind of feel like I'm not confrontational. I feel like Cooper and Sexton, they got a little chip on their shoulder. I don't really run that. That's not my thing. So
they do a lot of whining.
Yeah.
Those two boys together are sometimes a lot to handle.
But they're so damn good. It's like I'm happy to watch them, but if it was on my heart, I'd rather just Tomac win. But I know it's not going. It's going to be hard to wrangle that away from Cooper. Like he's like a dog on a bone, man. You give it to him and he ain't giving it back.
And he's on it now.
Yeah.
So, and he's got the confidence where I don't think you're going to kill Tomac's confidence, but I do think it's playing a part.
Yeah.
He's getting whooped right now compared to what he was. He's not getting his ass kicked or nothing.
What do you think about the fact that they lapped up to 8th?
It's just like last week. We got up to 9th. It's impressive. And let's go into AP because Aaron Plessinger, that was an amazing ride. And for him to lap that much and to pull that kind of lead, I still feel bad for the kid. So that right there, the James Stewart Will You Marry Me would be my wife. Signed that.
I'm glad you clarified that for lesson here.
And everybody can see it. Back in 2014, we watched AP. So Detroit is AP's home race. He's from Hamilton, Ohio. Obviously, he's not from Michigan, but it's his closest race. In 2014, we got to watch him ride Detroit before he went pro in 2015. And the kid just lit up the stadium. That actually happened on the exact same night. James Stewart signed James Stewart Will You Marry Me, and she got stuck with me. She did. I don't know what she was thinking.
I think he is single now.
I told her to go after it. As long as the ex gets to ride the track once in a while. We can work something out.
We can wash cars.
Yeah, we can. That can be in part of the divorce agreement. I'll figure it out. That's a story for another day. But that happened the same night, and you could tell he was just on it. He had family, he had friends there, and he was destroying that track.
He was going to win. Sexton wasn't going to catch him.
No,
he was going to.
There
win
wasn't
that
a
race.
chance, and for him to get launched like that, and like he said, I didn't stand up in that rut the entire race, and the one time that I thought it was okay, I get launched off.
Yeah,
and I felt terrible for him because it's just one of those events that. There's nothing he could have done about it. He could have took a different route, but that's the main line right there. That was a preferred line. That's the line he'd been hitting the whole time. he's trying to hit his marks. Just finish that race.
Yeah.
And he did everything right, but he stood up and his foot caught and it launched him, and that was a nasty hit.
That was a crazy. There's so many things that happened. The fact that Michelle brought up, she's like, man, did you see his last second tuck? Like he tucked.
He tried to tuck and roll.
Yeah.
As a kid, we always learned to tuck and roll. I used to hit some gnarly jumps, and you're not going to make them. On an 85, we're hitting the stuff that the 250s wouldn't hit. And you're not going to make it. You just tuck and roll, and you're usually fine. Yeah. And I think he would have, had he got over that little knoll, he would have been fine. But the face of that jump caught him, and that had to hurt.
I appreciate the fact that the emotion got to him. He just went over to the tough block. I think he was shook up, but also the emotion. And then he's like, oh, wait, I got to finish. But then the bike was destroyed.
Yeah. He could have finished the race, like he said. He had half a lap to go. Yeah. He could have finished the race. He should have finished it, but emotionally, I get it. That is just devastating. And like I said, it still bothers me. To me, Sexton didn't win that race. Yeah. AP won that race through and through. Nobody was catching him.
But as Sexton, and we were talking about it, and I said, don't you think Sexton's going to walk up to him and go, hey, man, I've done this 7 times this year.
He said it right in his interview,
It's all right.
He's like, I feel bad for AP, but I know what it feels like all too well. And he does. He's thrown how many away because of it. So it's a racing event. It happens. I know it all too well when it comes to that part of it.
Forget the tragedy that happened to AP. Where did this ride come from?
I don't know.
It's been building. He's been building.
But the way he slung out of that whole shot was just out of this world, and he was gone right now. I was thoroughly impressed. We're obviously, AP is my wife Brianna's favorite rider. So
does she like the mustache and the mullet though?
She's got a picture. She loved it when he was in a sling last year in Daytona.
Okay.
She got a picture with him.
He is basically.
He's a cowboy.
That's for sure. He should be yours, the handyman special. He really is. He is. What was I say? Oh God, who's the guy from Detroit? Why can I not think of his name? Down to Down Boogie. Who's the singer? The singer.
I don't know. Isn't that the Big and Rich or whatever?
No. But there's a Detroit singer that
We're not on a country music podcast.
No, it's not country music.
I really don't know.
But he fits that. I'm American. He fits that he is.
Hey, that race, y'all.
Well, it's funny. He's from Ohio. We're the country slang. But what people don't realize is he actually does play guitar and sing. Yeah. But he sings country music because he used to shoot videos before he kind of got too big. He was singing.
Where I'm from. Shout out to all my Pennsylvania people. I feel bad for you guys right now. It's freezing, but it's freezing down here. We're 50 degrees.
It's cold here.
I got pants on, for God's sake.
I got a long sleeve shirt and pants.
I'm about ready to turn the heater on in this thing, but. We're from Amish country. He's the same area. If you move my area to his area, they'd blend right in, because where I'm from, where he's from, I come from a town of 3,000 people. His town's very small, Amish country style. So I understand it. Obviously, I don't talk like that, y'all, but you people do down here.
But I think that accent has been I think he's learned that accent a little bit.
I don't know. He didn't talk like that when we met him years ago. 2014. Just a down to earth guy, but he's a good guy. All around, don't matter how he talks, how he plays. The cowboy thing works for him.
Yeah, contract year for him.
Yeah, but I love that KTM cowboy hat.
Yeah.
The full blown race cowboy hat.
Red Bull has bought into that. Because if you know anything about Red Bull's business strategy, they don't screw around. They don't give their stuff away. They don't.
Red Bull's very intelligent when it comes to marketing.
Yeah. So my question is, we don't know where he's going to go, if he'll stay there, but his 2/3 season performance, has he solidified a ride next year?
I would say so. I think he's going to get the opportunity to go wherever he wants. He's riding well.
Yeah.
He's solid. He's having some down nights, but he's still there.
But leading 19 and a half minutes of a main.
That right there alone.
That solidifies
with the top guys and being 6, 7, 8 seconds ahead of the entire pack, the entire race.
Yeah.
It's a mind blowing ride. And he's still always there. He's a consistent rider.
Speaking of another strange character, congratulations, Justin Hill. Welcome back to Welcome back.
Yeah.
Number 7th.
Yeah. Awesome ride.
And I guess he's dropped Race Day Live. I think he dropped that he's going to be doing World Supercross and on a team. And so, like, is this rededicated Justin Hill?
I think so. I mean,
I was there.
He's showing good performance. Yeah. He's riding well. He's in it. I mean, it's not. They're not just there for fun anymore. So they're taking it seriously again. Both brothers. One's always been up there. Both of them at the same time. But to have them both in there again and riding hard, and I enjoy it. It's nice to see some of these older guys come in and do what they're still doing. Yeah. And even coming back from not riding in forever.
Oh, he was a sheriff's officer.
Yeah.
Did he actually ever patrol?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't dig into his life too hard. It's hard enough to manage my own.
Well, you do have 3 wild kids, so.
Yeah.
And 2 wild dogs.
And a wife.
Well, yeah. She's pretty passive, though.
If she gets in on that James Stewart deal.
I don't really have anything. There weren't any really of those spectacular. The LCQ was fairly entertaining. By the way, what about Chiz in the heat race? It is so weird to see Chiz trying to do takeout moves. He's not good at it, and he tried 4 times in the heat race. And then he had to go through the LCQ and then dominates the LCQ. But I look at guys like that that's not their operandus, or what is it called, modus operandi.
He's a rider, not a fighter.
And watching him, I was like, dude, this looks terrible. Like this isn't you, man. Just ride and
ride. I mean, if he would ride and not try to do that, because that slows him down. Like just ride your ride. And you're going to pass the guys. I mean, you already know it. Why? I mean, it's cool to watch. For us, it's great. But it's fail.
Don't you wonder what Cade Clayson... Like, Cade Clayson's 2 riders ahead and like, why does this yellow bike keep coming up inside of me? What's going on here? Yeah. There wasn't any... I didn't really see nothing that caught my eye that I wanted to bring to the table as far as what this race was bringing. It was kind of that up front was where it was. The battles in the back. There were battles in the back, but the racing was so good up front that as a fan watching on TV, we weren't really privy to what was happening in the back. Yeah. And you can look at results, but we don't know what was happening. So I don't really have anything else for 450. Do you?
No. Overall, it was an awesome race to watch.
Yeah.
Feel bad for AP, like I said, but on to next week, and we'll see what happens.
Back to the 250 West, right?
Back to Washington.
Yeah.
We're going to Seattle.
Yep.
So the nice rainy cold, and we'll see what happens.
And they've been having that area of the country. I mean, I think California's gotten big Bear areas, like 600 something inches of snow, and like
So if it ain't raining, it's snowing.
Oh yeah, so that Pacific Northwest. I mean, it's a beautiful area, but you never know if it's going to be a swamp or what's going to happen. And it's kind of a moonish style dirt. I think 250 East has 4 weeks off before they're back at it again. So, and one of those weeks everybody will have off. There'll be an off weekend. And I think, as a side note, I think that's where Derek and I are going to talk about our racing lives on that off weekend. There won't be much racing to talk about Supercross wise. So I think we're going to talk about our racing lives.
Yeah, we'll talk about us, how we met, give a good introduction on ourselves. I mean, obviously we met somewhere. Yeah. So it's a cool story too, really. Yeah. How we met. How we brought this to life.
Exactly.
It's crazy world, but yeah.
Well, let's dive into Daddy motocross life.
Daddy motocross life was awesome this week.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be awesome this weekend too. But we decided to race Dade City this week for their points championship race. My 4-year-old rides PW50, so he's in the 50 beginner class. They only got a couple PW50 classes, so they all race together. It rained up there. The kid is always pumped to ride, and it makes me so happy.
He's got a huge smile.
Yeah, and the whole time he's riding too. Yeah. And my oldest doesn't know if he wants to ride yet, and I'm not pushing the issue. It's course, I want to see him ride, but it breaks my heart when he doesn't ride. But we'll get there. Every week now that Bowen's bringing home these trophies. As you can see, these are his trophies right here. My oldest gets all butt hurt, and I'm racing next week. Good. You know, you got a race bike and a practice bike. They're just sitting there. Like, let's use these things, because Bowen can't touch on them. Yeah, I tried. So Moto 1, we went out. We had awesome practice. They new track layout at Dade City. They kind of tamed it down a little bit, and they had a massive triple in the center. It looked awesome. I wish I could have rode it. Still battling these broken ribs.
I'm just gonna say this word out loud on the video and podcast. Management.
I just want to ride the track. I don't got to race it. It was killing me not to race it. My mom looked at me. We were sitting there under our canopy. My mom's like, "Wish you had your bike, don't you? Stop. You're making this worse." So, but yeah, it was an awesome weekend. Moto 1, we went out. He went down twice. They actually had 2 double line sections at Dade City, which is awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
The kid doesn't use his brakes. He refuses to use the brakes, and at the beginning of his riding, I don't want to call it a career, but it is. Somebody pays for it, you know. I mean, you're looking at the payments, but he doesn't use his brakes, so he went the inside of the double lane and he blew through the barrier on a PW50. He blew right through it. He jumped over it and he went down, and he got back up. He fought his way back. He went down again on the other double lane section. Did the same thing. He got PW50s are small. We're talking, you know, yay high height for the berms on these double lanes, and he got up on the berm and the PW50 kind of power to run through that. So he went down again, but fought his way back to 5th in the first moto after going down twice, which proud dad moment there. We got some rain then. I watched a couple of these other guys riding. Everybody was running real well. The rain actually helped that track, because if anybody knows Dade City, we call it Dade Shitty for a reason. I mean, it is sandy. It is nothing but soft dirt. I mean, the soft dirt did not help my ribs. I destroyed my ribs at Dade City, but that rain really compacted that track a little bit. And second moto we went out, he actually turned his bike around 180. And another proud dad moment, he stuck his foot down, spun that bike right around, and took off again. And we ended up 4th overall on the night. So making a lot of improvements from. I mean, you've seen him ride his first E-Jam Series race, and just scared to death of it. Now he's making moves. So you know, we work with him every week here at the mini compound, and I ride the pit bike with him in the old KLX 110, and I pressure him and try to get him riding his turns. And he looked at me this week and he's like, "Dad, I really need to work on my turns." I'm like, "Buddy, we have a turn track in our yard. Like, I built you a turn track, and it's specifically designed to ride turns. Like, I mean, you know it, you see it all the time, and it's crazy turns." And I even got an S turn in there, and he's like, "Oh, that makes sense. So we ride that just to practice turns." I'm like, "That's why I haven't even put any jumps down for you yet, because turns are your problem. You don't need to be jumping." He did jump. I forgot to tell you all about this. So they have after the finish line, there's a big double, and then you come around and it's kind of like a step up deal, but it's a hard jump to hit. From experience, you got to be on it to clear that jump. The kid jumped it, and he didn't stand up. And I've been trying to tell him time and time again, you need to stand up on the face of a jump if you think you're going to jump. And with the speed that he's gaining, he's constantly getting some air at this point. I'm like, "Buddy, you got to stand up." He didn't stand up, and that thing straight up nose wheelie, and I'm like, "Oh God, here we go." You know, this going to end the night. He ended that thing, put it back down, and took off again, still on the throttle the whole time. And he comes down just shaking his head. And the kid's hauling, shaking his head. So we get off, and I'm like, "You jumped?" He's like, "I sure did. I didn't know if I was going to make it." I'm like, "Why were you shaking your head?" "I don't know. I wasn't sure." "Well, buddy, you did it. I mean, next time, now you understand why I'm telling you to stand up." Like, I don't teach you the stuff so it goes in one ear and out the other. But yeah, we had an awesome weekend. I'm hoping to. Excuse me. This weekend we have another race at Dade City. They're doing a big Easter egg hunt, so we're gonna go up Friday, spend the whole weekend. They'll do MX School on Saturday morning. I think I might ride that just to
get some laps in.
Yeah, see how the ribs do.
It's controlled. It's controlled. It's fine.
Yeah, there's no hardcore competition in the MX School, so I'll ride that and maybe even jump off and teach some of these kids a few things, and it'll be a fun weekend. I think they hide like 4,800 eggs or something like that on the track, and they put them on the gate and drop the gate and let them go.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's just that every man for themselves, a bunch of little savages running around stealing eggs. But then they have full track practice, the back track, on Sunday. So
you guys gonna stay up there all weekend?
Yeah, but we're gonna go up Friday night. We'll stay till Sunday. I don't know if I'm gonna ride the big track. We'll see how MX School goes and how the wife appreciates me riding. She already told me I'm done, but you know how that goes.
I was just gonna say it, management. One more time, management. Yeah.
We're here, aren't we? I mean, we're here. We're doing our thing.
And for those that don't know, Dade City Motocross is one of the. It's 50 years, I think they've been.
50 years running.
And what's amazing is, yes, they've been there. They're basically in Dade City, like Dade City proper. They're right next to the high school.
On the fairgrounds.
Yeah, they're at the fairgrounds. Last weekend they hosted Day in the Dirt South. Day in the Dirt is a race that has been going on in California for years. Red Bull's now involved, and Dade City is the south part of that. So
Day in the Dirt down south.
Yeah, and they run a massive track, and it's all weekend. So they also have their own point series. They're also part of Gold Cup, some of the other series that run. They do have the capacity. They have their small track, but then they do have for the big events. They can expand that track a lot for the outdoor track.
There's a whole other track in the back, so it's two full tracks. Yeah. It's a good facility. They got their issues. They're all going to have their issues. They've been open since '79, so what? 44 years. So we're not on 50 yet, but
long time.
Yeah. So it's obviously they're doing something right in the middle of Dade City.
And they still and somehow there's an agreement. I mean, tracks get shut down out in the middle of nowhere, and Dade City's still operating. But it's produced James Stewart, Ricky Carmichael,
a lot of big names,
Jason
come out
Thomas,
of there. Ronnie Renner.
The Ferries raced there some, the young and the old. So there's I think Tishner, Cianciarillo has raced there some. He was more up north, but all of these guys have come through there and done. R.J. Hampshire.
Yep, is a big one.
His sister was damn good racer.
Yep.
His dad was a really good racer. Because when I was going there in the 90s with my nephew, or my cousin, that was the show. That was Marissa Hampshire was on it. Like, she was a racer, and his dad was really good too.
Yeah, and the Lawrence brothers are doing their ride days there. Yeah. They're there all the time. I don't have my plaque out here. I should have. We got Ronnie Renner and Justin Bogle and Jet Lawrence. Somebody else was there, but they all signed a plaque that I won. Bogle's, yeah, but there was somebody else. I can't remember. Justin Bogle. But we won the Halloween costume contest there last year with our NASA space shuttle. I'll have to see if we can put some pictures up for you guys. It was a lot of people that follow me on Facebook have seen it, but that was an awesome experience too. So, but they do a lot of things for the community like that as well. The Great Pumpkin Race. That's by no means safe, and they'll tell you it's not safe. And if you guys don't know anything about the Great Pumpkin Race, you need to look into it. It is an awesome race where literally they'll put two people on a bike, and the back guy has to hold a pumpkin while racing the Dade City MX track. Yeah. And they're not holding on; they're holding on to. I mean, they're large pumpkins, and I shit you not, sitting on my lap. They're holding these pumpkins. These guys are jumping the jumps just like they normally would with a passenger on the back.
They take their visors off, the passenger does, so that he can get closer to the guy
and just hold tight.
And then they have to switch riders at the like.
So yeah, they'll get up to the finish line and then they swap, and then the other guy has to grab the pumpkin, then they make another lap. It's a gnarly race. It's awesome. It's cool to see. Like I said, get on YouTube, look at it. A little bit of self promotion here because it is something that you. Like we talked about in episode 1, everybody wants to ride Florida. There's a lot of cool things going on in Florida, all the motocross going on in Florida. But the cool track, there are the cool events like that, and the stuff that Dade City does, like Day in the Dirt. I mean, it's just the community atmosphere. It's just awesome.
I think, and add to that community, you're never going to hear us downgrade or talk We're going to talk about the series that are happening. We're going to talk about cool things like, for instance, Future MX. They had Tampa Motocross, Daytona. They took just a truck and trailer out to Dallas. Then they didn't go to Indy because of the Day in the Dirt.
Yeah.
Future MX was a huge part of Day in the Dirt with Red Bull. They did a 500. Their riders raced in the...
Two Sykes ran the 500.
Yeah, they ran the 500. So one of the mechanics, who was a good racer in his own right, ran the 500. But their two riders, well, Cole didn't because he broke his arm, but Aiden Shive, won the...
Yeah, so Pooh Sykes last year. So... I don't know if you know the Sykes family at all. Ryan Sykes was the Iron Man at Day in the Dirt, the original Day in the Dirt. Pooh Sykes came and won the Iron Man last year, kept it in the family, and now Aiden Shive, one of the Future MX riders, won the Iron Man this year.
On a pre-modern bike.
Yeah.
He didn't even run his race bike. He ran a pre-modern bike.
Well, they talked about it because we listen to their podcast. Obviously, we don't do a podcast without listening to podcasts, and they talked about where RJ Hustis he said we could put some other suspension on there if you want to ride that, and he's like, let's ride the old 125.
But they also, the point of that is they're involved. Not only are they trying to train guys, they have the Future MX Pro team, but they have the amateur team, and some of those guys raced this weekend. Not only was there Dade City Motocross, the Supercross, but there was also Florida Trail Riders Association, which is the Hare Scrambles, the off-road series.
Yeah, we had I4MX this weekend.
I4MX had a race, and then so Dade City was kind of hopping because right off of Bellamy Brothers Road is this track that the Nature Coast Trailblazers put on a race, and this weekend it was super dusty. I saw pictures and race reports this weekend from quads up to the pros. And let me tell you, it was dusty. It was really dusty.
Yeah, or for the people that aren't in Florida, we haven't had a solid rain. We did get a rain last week, wasn't it? But we haven't had a solid rain in 4 months.
Yeah, we're in the very dry. We're in the arid part of our season, I guess.
Yeah, it's the water will literally lay on top of the sand. It doesn't even soak in right now. It's crazy.
So this weekend they have this, and this track has been rated. It's nasty. I mean, there are roots sitting on top. Last time I raced it, I was petrified most of the race because you're going through the woods, third, fourth gear because it's open, but you look down and you're like, oh, please kick left, please don't kick right, please don't kick right, and then there's these fast field sections and there's some nice tight wood sections, but it's actually been rated. But this weekend, Jesse Ansley, one of the GNCC guys, enduro guys, won the AA. Blake Yaros was second. Hunter Newworth he actually teaches kids off-road racing. He finished third. The stories I wanted to touch on, Vet A guy finished first in Vet A, 6th overall in the afternoon race, and then another Vet A guy finished 10th overall, second in Vet A. And I was like, dang man, old guys pushing it with that's AA, A Open, A250, A200, and then these vet guys, and it's like, and plus 30. And so A Open was actually Logan Lowry was 7th overall, and they raced 2 hours in this field, and so it was very dusty, very rooty, but the track, people love this track. This year they usually have a giant radar screen, and there's been guys that have hit 70 miles per hour on this radar screen. First comment I saw was, hey, where's the radar screen? Well, they couldn't get it to work this year.
Yeah, I seen a couple.
And people were like,
complaining.
"Man, I want to see if I gotten faster this year." But I wanted to talk about some of the numbers. So, racing in Florida, everybody talks about the GNCC, motocross racing, all this stuff. GNCC, they're getting 1,500 riders. FTR is the second largest series in the country right now. This weekend, for just a random hare scramble in Dade City, there were 1,001 riders by my count this weekend. In all classes. I'm talking the bikes, the quads, the Peewees, and the Peewee quads. There were 1,001 riders this weekend at the race. That's a lot of people in this area, and people don't understand the family environment. You've been to one, so you now understand.
We've been to a few. We got Bowen, who's our PW50 rider. They also do STACYC races, so we go to a few of them here and there. But it's just a.
It's where you can go to Florida. Like I tell people, there's nowhere else you can go in Florida. You pay $20, And you can camp all weekend.
Yeah. It's dry camping, but it's a good time. I mean, these fields...
There's food trucks.
Yeah, vendors. I mean, you got all the parts you ever need there. It's a cool atmosphere. And that's what we talked about last weekend. Last week on episode 1, the motocross community is just amazing. And that's half the reason why we do what we do. We wouldn't have invested what we've invested into our kids' future, without having that community. I mean, if you go to a race and it's nothing but fighting, who would ever want to go? It's always a good community. Of course, like I said, you get your few families out there. We ran into one this weekend, but I'm not even going to elaborate on it because it's few and far between that you got some people that they go out there and they wear their factory gear and they're never going to be a factory rider, and they own the track, and sometimes you deal with that, but
and Derek and I, it's funny, we get along so well. I am so non-confrontational. Like, I'm the one, you watch my GoPros and someone's coming up behind me in my Enduros and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, and people are like, why do you apologize? I'm like, I don't want to get in anybody's way. Like, and Derek's a little more northeastern.
Pretty hard, I guess.
I don't wear flip-flops, but people think my mentality is flip-flops because I just kind of hang out.
I mean, we're total opposite when it comes to attitude, I guess. But
you're the same way.
I'm calming down.
You just said you're at the race this weekend and I ain't going to deal with it because you just want your... It's about...
Yeah, well,
it's about that family.
I'll tell you what I did. We were on the gate. No, you're not allowed to pack the dirt down in front of the gate.
Yeah.
I did for Bowen, just a little bit. I mean, they just groomed the track, Moto 2, and the sand was so soft. And I watched all these kids come off the gate the first moto, and they were all over the place. So I'm just literally, because at Dade City there's a big gap in the gate, so they're dug down in, just like a lot of the modern, the old modern gates. There's a trench, and it's as wide as a PW50 tire. So when they hit that hole, and then they get into that dirt, and they're all over the place. So I packed it down a little bit, and he's like, I'm gonna tell you right now, you can't do that. I'm like, we're not an AMA sanctioned event. He's like, well, don't get caught. I'm like, dude, stop. Like, it's fine. It's a PW50. I'm like, I've been racing my whole life. I know the rules. They're amateurs. It's a PW50 race at Dade City. Calm down. I'm trying to make sure my kid don't get hurt, who's right beside your kid. You want him to plow into your kid and knock him over? I said I wasn't going to elaborate on this, and look, here we go.
All right.
So, they're every week they're screaming at their kids. One of their kids went down, and even if he watches this, it's fine. But they're screaming at their kids. One of their kids went down hard this weekend, and he ripped them right back onto the bike. Go, dude! Let the kid have his moment. Like, I know what it's like to get hurt. Sometimes you don't want to finish the race. You don't have to finish the race. You're at a Dade City points championship race. You're not winning nothing except for some nice plaques, some nice trophies, or I don't know. I swore I'd never be that moto dad, and I you can hold me to it. But yeah, you're gonna run into guys like that everywhere. But the majority of, and anybody that's listened to this should know that the majority of the race community, 99.9% of the race community, is nothing but help.
Yeah.
If you remember when we were at Spider, we all went to Spider that weekend. Yeah. We hung out, we camped out at Spider MX, and we rode there for a whole weekend. It was a great time, but there was a poor kid. They drove down from North Carolina on that PW50. Remember, they couldn't get it running.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get that thing over here. Let's get it running. And they're so grateful, trying to hand me money. I'm like, no, just let the kid go out and ride. And we made that kid's day getting that bike running, and that's what it's about. It's for me now. It's about the kids having fun. Yeah, I still want to go out and ride, but seeing how Bowen ended up, this weekend, it was. I come home fulfilled. I mean, we had a great time, and this weekend's going to be awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in town, if you're in the area, head to Dade City. FTR is off this weekend. I think GNCC is off there, so there's only thing that will be happening this weekend is, I don't know if there's
I4MX is running this weekend.
I
don't remember where they're at. Maybe Waldo.
Okay.
They might be at Spider. I don't remember.
But
they're a Spider.
And we'll talk about Seattle, and we'll be coming to you. If you got anything else for motorcycle side?
No, we can hear your 12 Hours of Sebring.
Right. So
tear into it.
I am a racing fan. I grew up around racing, and I mean car racing, and I don't mean NASCAR. I mean road racing, IMSA, SCCA. I had the opportunity this weekend to go to the Mobil 12 Hours of Sebring, which all you have to do is Google Mobil 12 Hours of Sebring IMSA, and it's an amazing thing. And I had the opportunity this weekend. I went Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday, I had the opportunity to hang out on pit road for a little bit during a race.
I've seen your pictures.
Yeah,
Awesome.
pretty amazing. Don't know how I got on pit road. That's not important. Doesn't matter. Had the opportunity to get there, hang out, talk with some influential people. Friday, met one of my friends she's in the hospitality side of the racing, and she hooked me up. I spent the entire time with the Vassar Sullivan racing team. Vassar Sullivan races they race Lexus in the main series, and I spent 4.5 hours with their 2 truck drivers and tire specialists. I learned so much about the sport of racing. Now, there was a massive race going on at this time, and I didn't care. I could hear it, but I'm a racing fan and a sport business fan. And then on Saturday, I got to take Michelle. We went down and we hung out, and we just walked the track. And if you aren't a racing fan, you can go to Sebring and have a good time. Because, let's put it this way, there are men that dress up as cows. There are people that set up scaffolding. There is a live rooster on site that people have brought and put in a cage. There's a fish tank. There are people cooking. There may be naked people at some point. It's a festival. That happens to be one of the most important races in the world happening at the same time.
It's a typical racing community.
Yeah.
And it's just a good time.
Yeah. And there's campers everywhere, tents. There was a dude dressed as a spaceman, and I don't think he knew where he was. Michelle and I drove around. We did about 3 laps in the car. You can drive around, and then we walked the track as well. But I had so much fun. My parents were down there. I got to see my dad. My dad is battling Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's sucks, by the way, but we'll get into that later. But my dad and my stepmom were down there, and one of my good friends, he races old school Camaros in SCCA. He had a spot. So like I get to go down there and I get to catch up with all these people. It's another racing community. They all know I race motorcycles, and they're like, "Ah, man, we gotta get you in a car. We gotta get you in a car." And it's like, I'm good. And they're like, "You're getting old." And I'm like, "I'm still having fun," but I have so much fun down there, and it's one of those things that I don't care where you race. I don't care if you're racing at your local dirt track doing ovals. Embrace that community. Teach your kids about that community, and keep going because it supports the industry as a whole. That racing is supportive of that Sebring community for an entire year. Mm-hmm. Dade City does the same thing because people go eat at the GNCCs. The motels are packed. The FTR races, the camping, the food, the gas, the convenience stores.
All of it. I mean,
yeah.
Like we said, the Florida alone is the heart of racing. Period. I mean, it's beautiful down here all the time.
Yeah.
So
we're not just making noise. We're teaching discipline.
And there's a lot of people around here. Everybody knows that Florida's getting built and overcrowded, and we've got a lot of communities going in, and we're losing a lot of our tracks because of it, because of the noise. But what people don't understand is what the racing brings to the community. That sure, it's noisy. I mean, not really though.
But once a week.
Yeah, but it provides jobs for everybody. It provides, and like we swore to talk about the business of racing on this podcast, and all the stores thrive then. Down here, food trucks are a massive thing, and I know they're becoming a thing up north and all around the country. And
they're really good.
And we got many Hispanic food trucks down here, and they're amazing. I mean, they're delicious. We get tacos once a week at least, and these trucks and these local businesses and everything thrives when this racing is down, and people just don't understand that. I mean, like I said, you're always going to get the Karens, but I wish people would just sit back just for 5 minutes and be like, wow, they brought in millions of dollars this week, and it's not just about the racing; it's the entire community. So I don't know, maybe someday somebody will get into it, but
Well, we've been 45 minutes shorter than we were last week. So let's do this. We are self-sponsored. Derek, what's going on with DBS right now?
Oh, we're busy. So DBS Handyman Services and Custom Fabrication is my business. Sponsors the podcast. We are slammed all the time. We actually work through Trey and Michelle Real Estate as well.
You just had dyslexia. You got to put the woman first.
Michelle and Trey Real Estate. Yeah, sorry, I'm staring at you. Pretty face. Can't open. Her pretty face ain't here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we stay busy all the time, and we take care of their property management company as well, full service property management. And it's constant repair down here in Florida. A lot of people come here, they retire, they don't want to touch nothing, so that's where we come into play, and supports our habits, and my kids racing, and we keep them in business as well. So yeah, we're thriving.
Awesome. Any big projects?
Lots of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a never-ending battle. I do a lot of work down at Westgate River Ranch Resort, and that's a place where people really don't want to do anything but camp and have a good time.
Enjoy. Go to the rodeo, drink some beer.
I'm constantly getting. I actually just got a text today about a ton of termite damage. A good customer of mine, just lost her husband this week to cancer.
Oh.
Cancer sucks.
Yeah.
But she found termite damage today on top of all things. So that'll be this week's project. But we got a couple full remodels down there. And yeah.
Go online, look at pictures of what he does, his work. When I say he's a craftsman, I'm not joking. He's a little rough on the edges, but his craftsmanship is outstanding when it comes to his work. Michelle and Trey Real Estate, we just got a new listing over in Lakeland, 5 acres, high and dry. It's a beautiful piece of property. The house is going to need some work or a new house, but property management side, we got a couple new rentals. This area is just, it's nonstop, and poor Michelle, God bless her, she lets me kind of do this stuff and go out in the community and be she wants to work the business, and I want to grow the business, and I want to get us out there. And between Michelle and Trey Real Estate, full service property management, tonight I have my H&W Stable shirt on,
the DBS shirt on. But when we'll do our podcast here, when we talk about ourselves and how we met and all that, we'll dive deep into. Maybe
one day we'll do one of the podcasts at the barn.
Yeah, we could probably do
with
that.
The horses.
They own H&W Stables, as he said, and it's an awesome place out there. But
we could do one at the real estate office one time. We'll
dive into, like I said, we'll dive into our story and our business and how we met. That's how we met, to be honest with you. And if anybody's looking for a house in PA that wants to come to Florida, give me a call, because I'm going to hook you up with these guys, because you're not going to find any better realtors. So.
And that's the two.
Well, his wife.
His wife.
Trey's a different story, but
these two businesses are the reason that we're able to sit here and do this.
Yeah,
and we appreciate. Yes, they're ours, but we appreciate that freedom that those businesses bring us to be able to talk about the races. And we both have amazingly supportive spouses who also allow us to be crazy and do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to them, because they put up with us on a daily basis. Yeah. Trey will come and talk for 4 hours, and we'll sit out and drink a beer and chew some Copenhagen or whatever, and just have a good time. And while they're in there doing their thing, and it gives us the freedom. It lets us do what we want to do, and we're having a blast. And I hope everybody starts to enjoy this. We get the word spread out, and we'd love to get some of you guys on here and interview some people. And
if you notice, we do got a little more professional setup tonight.
Last week on was Raw and Uncut, and I put that straight into the Facebook post. And as you know, we got our Facebook page set up, and we haven't invited anybody yet, but we're slowly getting the platforms ready to go, and we'll be hitting iTunes here.
We're
in a few weeks.
If you want to get the podcast just straightforward, you can go to Podbean.
Yeah.
But we will be on all the major platforms.
Yeah. Google, Pandora, Apple. We're already underway. We're just waiting for all the approvals, and
it will be at least weekly. There may be more than one, but there will be at least one a week.
Yeah.
We might have some interviews, race people, business people.
That's the goal.
I mean, also, what time is it? It's right now. HBI is having their church service on Monday nights.
Yeah, and if you ever want in on that, shoot me a message. The HBI race team down here, owned by Matt Bell, HBI, tax and accounting.
Yep.
He's a great guy. He's a preacher, the moto preacher around here. They own a race team. They are a huge sponsor in Future MX, and they have an awesome program going on. Love to get him and RJ Huss on here someday. And they got a podcast as well with the Future MX team, and we'd love to talk to them at some point. But yeah, there's a lot going on. And
any last words?
No, just thanks everybody for listening. We hope this really starts to excel, and we're making it real. I mean, we're out there. We're getting out there. Like I said, we're hitting Apple. We're hitting Google. We're hitting Pandora here soon. So,
and we've already had a critique because I'm gonna finish with this. We're gonna wrap up with this tonight.
That's fun.
So we put out this raw podcast. We're just being us. Mom, I love you. I hope that we're closer tonight than we were last week.
I think we got quite the setup tonight there, Sarah. I mean, come on.
And with that, and with Derek Schaefer of DBS and Trey Heath with Michelle and Trey Real Estate, we'd like to tell you good night and please enjoy Beyond the Curve. Y'all have a good night.
See you on the next one.
Bye bye. All right. Good job, man.